The night lay heavy over Egypt, and the river moved without haste. In the houses of the Hebrews, lamps were kept low and voices were quiet. Fear had settled into daily life, carried on every breath. The people of Israel had grown many in the land. Their families filled the cities and the fields. They labored under the weight of forced work, shaping bricks from mud, lifting stone beneath the sun. Their days were long and their rest was brief. A new king ruled over Egypt. He did not remember Joseph or the favor once shown to the Hebrews. He looked upon the people of Israel and counted them. Their numbers troubled him. He spoke to his counselors and to his people. He said the Hebrews were too many and too strong. He feared that if war came they would rise against Egypt. So he ordered that they be oppressed. Taskmasters were set over them. Their labor was made harsh. They were driven to work harder, faster, longer. Yet still the people multiplied. Then the king gave a darker command. Every Hebrew son born was to be thrown into the Nile River. The daughters were to live. The river that gave life to Egypt was to become a place of death. Word of the command spread quietly from house to house. Mothers held their children closer. Fathers spoke in low voices. Every birth became a moment of fear. In this time, a man from the house of Levi took a woman of his own tribe as his wife. She conceived and bore a son. When she looked upon the child, she saw that he was good. She knew the danger that surrounded him. She hid him. For 3 months she kept him out of sight. She softened his cries and wrapped him close. Each sound outside the house brought tension. The days passed slowly. The child grew stronger. Hiding became harder. The risk increased with every passing hour. When she could hide him no longer, she made a careful plan. She gathered reeds and shaped them into a small basket. She coated it with tar and pitch, sealing every opening. She worked with steady hands. When the basket was finished, she placed the child inside. She wrapped him gently. She kissed him and held him one last time. Then she carried the basket toward the river. The Nile flowed as it always had. Its surface reflected the light of the sky. She set the basket among the reeds at the water's edge. The basket rested half-hidden. The child's sister followed at a distance. She stood still watching. She did not speak. She waited. Time passed quietly. The river moved. Birds called in the distance. Then footsteps approached. Pharaoh's daughter came down to the river to bathe. Her attendants walked beside her. She noticed the basket among the reeds. She sent her servant to bring it. When the basket was opened, the child cried. His voice broke the silence. Pharaoh's daughter looked upon him. She felt compassion. She knew the child was a Hebrew. The child's sister stepped forward. She spoke carefully. She asked if a Hebrew woman should be called to nurse the child. Pharaoh's daughter agreed. The sister went quickly. She returned with the child's mother. Pharaoh's daughter spoke to her. She told her to take the child and nurse him. The mother took the child back into her arms. She cared for him in her own home. The child grew. The time came when he could no longer remain hidden. The mother brought him to Pharaoh's daughter. He was given into her care. Pharaoh's daughter adopted the child as her son. She named him Moses. She said she had drawn him out of the water. And the child was raised within the house of Pharaoh. The river flowed on unchanged. The palace stood firm. A life once hidden had been preserved. And the story moved quietly forward. The child was carried from a quiet home into a place of stone and order. Walls rose high around him. Voices echoed where once there had been whispers. Life changed slowly and completely. Moses grew within the house of Pharaoh. Servants tended to him. Teachers instructed him. He learned the ways of Egypt as the years passed. He was clothed as an Egyptian child. He walked through halls filled with carvings and painted walls. He heard the language of the court spoken daily. Customs and rituals shaped his days. Time moved forward without pause. Seasons changed. The child became a boy and the boy grew taller. His steps became steady. He was taught to read and write. He learned the knowledge valued by Egypt. Numbers, history and law were placed before him. He listened and remembered. Outside the palace, the city moved with its own rhythm. The sound of labor carried on the wind. Bricks were shaped and stacked. The fields were worked beneath the sun. Moses passed through these places. He saw the people who labored. He saw their faces and heard their voices. They were not strangers to him. Though he lived in Pharaoh's house, he knew his origin. The memory remained with him. It followed him quietly through the years. He did not speak of it often. As he grew older, his place in the household became clear. He moved among officials and guards. He heard the concerns of rulers. He observed how decisions were made. Years passed in this way. No single moment marked the change. The passing of time was steady and unremarkable. Childhood gave way to maturity. Moses became a man. His strength increased. His understanding deepened. Yet his thoughts were often elsewhere. He looked beyond the walls of the palace. He watched the work of the Hebrews. He saw their burden and their weariness. Their suffering was not hidden from him. He walked among them at times. He listened without speaking. The sound of their labor stayed with him. The contrast was plain. Inside the palace there was order and provision. Outside there was strain and exhaustion. Moses stood between two worlds. Neither fully claimed him. The years continued. No announcement marked the turning point. But the weight of what he saw grew heavier. Silence gathered within him. Then came a day like many others. Moses went out among his people. What he witnessed would not fade with time. And the quiet years within Pharaoh's house came to an end. Moses fled from Egypt with nothing to guide him but distance. The land behind him faded. The road ahead was unknown. His steps carried him away from the noise of the palace into silence. He traveled until the fields gave way to open land. Stone replaced walls. The air grew still. At last he came to the land of Midian. There he sat beside a well. The day was warm and the ground was dry. The well stood alone, a place of pause for travelers and shepherds. Moses waited. The daughters of the priest of Midian came to draw water. They moved with practiced rhythm, filling the troughs for their father's flock. Other shepherds arrived and drove them away. The moment passed without words. Moses stood. He stepped forward and helped them. He drew water and filled the troughs. The flock drank. The daughters returned home sooner than expected. Their father noticed. They told him of the man who had helped them at the well. He asked why the man had been left behind. Moses was invited to stay. He entered a household that moved at a different pace. Days were marked by sunrise and sunset. Work followed the seasons. Moses agreed to dwell there. He took on the work of the land. He learned the paths of the wilderness. The open spaces became familiar. He was given Zipporah as his wife. Life settled into a new pattern. Together they shared the quiet of the land. Their home was simple. Zipporah Bohasson. Moses named him Gershom. He said he had been a stranger in a foreign land. The words reflected his years. Time passed slowly in Midian. There were no courts or crowds. Only the wind and the movement of the flock. Each day followed the last. Moses led sheep across wide ground. He watched the sky for signs of weather. He learned patience. He learned silence. The wilderness shaped him. The land required attention and care. Nothing moved quickly. Nothing was wasted. Years turned into decades. Egypt became a distant memory. The urgency of earlier days faded. Life continued without disturbance. Moses rose before dawn. He walked familiar paths. He returned at evening. His days were steady. Time moved on. Moses did not know when change would come. He did not seek it. He tended his flock and his family. The wilderness remained quiet. Then one day, as he led the flock beyond the usual paths, he came to a mountain he had not known. And the stillness of Midian was about to be broken. Moses led the flock beyond the familiar paths of the wilderness. The ground rose gradually beneath his feet. The air was still. He came to Horeb, the mountain of God. The sheep moved quietly around him. There was no sound but the wind and the shifting of stone. Then Moses saw something that caused him to stop. A bush was burning with fire. The flames moved through its branches. Yet the bush was not consumed. It remained standing. Moses paused. He looked again. The fire continued, steady and bright. The bush did not change. He said to himself that he would turn aside and see this great sight. Why the bush was not burned. He stepped closer. The ground felt firm beneath him. As he approached, a voice called out from the midst of the bush. "Moses! Moses!" He answered, "Here I am." The voice said for him not to come closer. It told him to remove his sandals from his feet. The place where he stood was holy ground. Moses stopped. The voice spoke again. It said it was the God of his father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. Moses hid his face. He was afraid to look. The fire continued to burn before him. The voice said it had seen the affliction of its people in Egypt. It had heard their cry because of their taskmasters. It knew their suffering. It had come down to deliver them. The voice said it would bring them out of Egypt. It would lead them to a land flowing with abundance. It would send Moses to Pharaoh. Moses stood still. He spoke carefully. He asked who he was to go to Pharaoh, who he was to bring the people out of Egypt. The question hung in the air. The voice answered. It said it would be with him, that this would be the sign. that when the people were brought out they would serve God on that mountain. Moses listened. He asked what he should say if the people asked for the name of the God who sent him. He waited. The fire did not fade. The voice answered him. It spoke the name by which it would be known. It told Moses what to say to the people of Israel. It told him the elders would listen. It said Pharaoh would not let the people go easily, that signs would be shown, that Egypt would be struck, that the people would leave with what they were given. Moses remained hesitant. He said the people would not believe him, that they would not listen to his voice. The voice responded again. Signs were shown to him there. What was held became something else. What was placed upon the ground changed. Moses watched. Still Moses spoke of his weakness. He said he was slow of speech and tongue. The voice answered him without haste. It said who had made the mouth. It said it would be with his mouth. It would teach him what to say. Moses stood in silence. The fire continued. At last Moses listened. The moment passed quietly. The bush still burned. And the path forward was set. Moses returned to Egypt as he had been sent. He stood before Pharaoh and spoke the words he was given. But Pharaoh's heart was firm. He would not let the people go. The first sign came quietly. Moses stretched out his hand over the waters of the Nile. The river turned to blood. Fish died and the water could not be drunk. The river that sustained Egypt became foul. The people dug along its banks for water. Pharaoh saw it, yet his heart remained unchanged. He did not listen. Then frogs came up from the river. They filled the land. They entered houses, ovens and sleeping places. There was no escape from them. When the frogs died they lay in heaps. The land smelled of decay. Pharaoh spoke words of relief, then hardened his heart again. The people remained. Next came gnats. They covered man and beast. Dust became living swarms. The priests of Egypt could not explain it. Still Pharaoh would not yield. Then flies came. They filled houses and ruined the land. But Pharaoh's resolve did not break. After this disease struck the livestock. Herds fell in the fields. Animals died where they stood. Yet Pharaoh's heart remained firm. Boils followed. They broke out on people and animals alike. Pain was visible across the land. Still Pharaoh did not listen. Then hail fell from the sky. It struck crops and trees. Fire moved among the hail. Nothing like it had been seen before. Some sheltered what they could. Others did not. The land was struck again. Pharaoh spoke, then turned back once more. Locusts came next. They covered the land until it was dark. They ate what the hail had left behind. Nothing green remained. Pharaoh called for relief. The locusts were driven away. But his heart returned to its place. The people stayed. Then darkness fell. It was thick. For 3 days no one rose from their place. But among the Israelites there was light. Still Pharaoh would not let them go. Then the word came of one final night. A night unlike all others. Each household of Israel was told to prepare. A lamb without blemish was chosen. It was kept until the appointed time. Silence filled the homes. As evening approached, the lamb was prepared. Its blood was taken. Doorposts were marked. The sign was set. Inside the meal was eaten. No leaven was used. Belts were fastened. Feet were ready to move. Outside the night deepened. Egypt rested unaware. Inside the houses of Israel, waiting remained. No words were spoken. At midnight the moment came. The firstborn of Egypt died. From palace to lowest dwelling there was loss. A cry rose across the land. Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron. He told them to go. He urged them to leave at once. The people of Egypt pressed them to depart. The Israelites gathered what they had. They moved quickly. The land behind them fell silent. The journey began. The Lord went before them. A pillar of cloud led them by day. A pillar of fire gave light by night. They moved into the wilderness. Pharaoh changed his mind. He gathered his army. Chariots followed the path of the people. The sound of pursuit grew louder. The Israelites reached the sea. Water lay before them. The army approached behind. Fear spread through the camp. Moses stood before the people. Then he stretched out his hand over the sea. The waters were divided. A path opened. The wind moved through the night. The sea stood apart. The ground beneath was dry. The people stepped forward. They walked between walls of water. Children were carried. The elderly were guided. The crossing continued. The Egyptians followed. Chariots entered the path. Wheels turned upon the ground. Then the command came. Moses stretched out his hand once more. The waters returned. The sea covered the army. The path was gone. Morning light touched the shore. The sea was calm again. The people stood on the far side. They were free. The sound of the sea faded. The wilderness lay ahead. Behind them was Egypt. And the journey continued into silence. The story pauses here not because the journey ends but because another waits to be told. Other nights, other paths and other moments of quiet faith remain. If you wish to continue, another story is waiting on the screen.